Focus on B, the single-part video series where I take a look at a game that might not be great for a Let's Play, but it sure as hell would make for a video that I would want to make, and this is Ridge Racer 64. So, it still feels weird to me knowing that there are Ridge Racer games that aren't exclusive to PlayStation. Yeah, newsflash, that happened 20 plus years ago, but it's true. See, because, you know, the Ridge Racer was initially like this arcade thing, and it was quite revolutionary for its time because it had 3D visuals that were heavily stylized in a way that actually kind of still holds up. And then it was exclusive to PlayStation for quite some time, and then, yep, we made it onto the N64, then it was Ridge Racer on the DS, which is basically this game again, and there was also the really good PSP ones, which, well, there's Sony again. Then there was also Ridge Racer 3D, and then there was Unbounded, which kind of, I mean, I guess it kind of killed the series, and then not just because, oh, it was on PC, so people, well, I don't know, because some people claim that, oh, games don't sell as well on PC. Well, I mean, more people have computers, so I don't know, man. But whatever, so basically the series is dead, right? we can kind of just accept that, although, you know, I'm not sure how well it would have survived either way, because this game has a very interesting flavor of arcade racing, which, it's not as if its influence isn't felt to this day, because it absolutely is. I think I talked about this in my Ridge Racer 5 video, you know, the one on the PS2 that ran at 60 frames per second and stuff, but you know what's really crazy? That I actually kind of prefer this one. Yeah, this, you know, 240p, so like low definition, 30 FPS N64 game with not as good sound quality because cartridges, I kind of enjoy this one better, and I think it might just be because, well, it doesn't feel as unbalanced difficulty-wise. It feels like there's a smoother curve, and you don't really have difficulty settings. Well, currently I'm playing the very first track on Novice, but we're going to move on to the stuff that I actually haven't done, just to see what kind of challenge we have to face. And also really like this game's unlock system, where you have to actually race against, you know, like the cars you're gonna unlock. Although, funnily enough, they're not that much better. Wow, we're already done with this event. I told you, this is what happens when you take a late game car, because technically I've already kind of beaten this game. I got the credits to roll, so that's what happens when you take a late game car to the very first event, as you just saw. But now we're gonna go all the way over here to Ridge Racer, Novice, Extra. Oh wait, these actually aren't gonna be that hard. These are the extra courses. I'm guessing they're just mirrored. Well, whatever, let's just go Love Revolution, Novice again with the same car. It's all about power sliding and top speed in these games, right? And it's a very good contrast to another game that I'm going to be doing on the series, or maybe I've already done, depending on how I choose to schedule the uploads. But, you know, you guys will know because you guys are in the future. I'm in the past still recording these. But it's an interesting contrast to a different flavor of arcade racer of this time period, which was the arcade outrun cruising type arcade racer. You know, the one where it's kind of like a fixed camera and you're just sort of, it's almost like an illusion of moving forward. Well, no, with the cruising games, they genuinely did have like actual models and things were moving, whereas with Outrun and also the Top Gear games, right, on the Super Nintendo, it was just an illusion, a very well done illusion. I've got a lot of good things to say about Top Gear 3000, which I've done a video on, or will do a video on again, depending on when this goes up. So the thing about Ridge Racer is that it's just this really weird middle ground, because even though I'm also using the first-person camera because it's the better camera for this, everyone can agree. You can, I hit the wrong button, there you go. You can go to a third-person camera, but like, look at this, it has this very stiff kind of feel to it, where it almost feels like this bridging gap between the Gran Turismo or even Need for Speed like style actually being able to move around the track type racing game, although yes, we all know the original Need for Speed didn't have fully 3D tracks. You know, it was actually it did this weird Doom-like thing where it's not really 3D, even though it looks 3D, and that's why you can't turn around and whatever. And then that's why like it was such a big deal with the second game, because, well, we got a fully 3D engine this time. And to be fair, that was a little bit before Gran Turismo, actually quite a bit before Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo was like late 1997 in Japan and early 1998, I think, in America, whereas Need for Speed 2 was, I think, early 1997 in like just everywhere. So, you know, there's definitely an advantage to be had there. But when it comes to Ridge Racer, it's such a weird series because I love the style. Let's go back to this camera now. I'm having a really hard time because the style is actually really clean, even with the departures such as stuff like Ridge Racer Type 4, which had a very different, very somber kind of tone to it, very sad, like a lot of The music had like this jazz acid kind of sound to it. But like it was mostly drum and bass, true, and this is also drum and bass, but it's a very different flavor of drum and bass. That game was just so, and its color palette was very muted and garage shaded, and it was really cool. It definitely stands out, and is why it's kind of like the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Ridge Racer, because it's just such a unique game stylistically, and it probably is one of the most unique, visually speaking, racing games of all time. Honestly, I haven't even played that game that much. I haven't played it since I recorded footage for a video. And that's it. I don't even have it on my hard drive anymore. I've deleted it. Which is, I have this really weird habit of like deleting things. Even though I have like 700 plus gigs on just one of my drives, I still keep just deleting shit, you know, just because I don't play it that much. Oh, wait, I just got second place. Does that mean that I think this is one of those games where second place might as well be last place, right? It doesn't really count for anything. Yeah, give it another shot. We're gonna give it another shot because, well, we still have about 14 minutes left of this video or so because, you know, I like to make them about 20 or so minutes. I don't want to have my focus on bees be too long. So we're just going to give this track another shot, but what else do I really talk about when it comes to my experiences with Ridge Racer? Because this kind of arcade racing, it takes a while to get used to, right? Because you have these physics that almost don't make sense. And to be fair, this is actually better than even I've played, which ones have I played? I think I've played pretty much all of them. Yeah, I've played the original just as a curiosity piece. I played Revolution to see how much better it was. I've played Rage Racer, which was kind of that weird one that is still relatively similar. I think I had like an upgrade system. Then there was obviously Ridge Racer Type 4, which I've played quite a bit. Ridge Racer 5, I did a video on it. I've played Ridge Racers, I think they were called, like the two PSP ones. I've played them as well. I haven't played any of the like DS or 3DS ones. I don't really see the point in doing that. Haven't played Ridge Racer 6 or 7. And I think I played Unbound for, like, Unbounded, not to be confused with Need for Speed Unbound. I played that one for, like, what? Like an hour or something on PC years ago. And then I was like, this is kind of boring. I'm going to delete this now. And it was made by the guys who made Flat Out 2. That game is amazing. And Bugbear are really cool. Even though I'm not, honestly, not the biggest fan of Wreckfest, but it's made by Bugbear, and it is a very solid game. It has this, it's like if you took BeamNG Drive and actually made it a video game instead of just a benchmark, basically. I mean, there's no game to BeamNG Drive. They're trying their hardest, the developers, right, to gamify it, you know, add all these scenarios and things, but it doesn't work. The engine just isn't video gamey. It's too... The way the cars drive doesn't feel like that of a video game, you know? Whereas with, like, Wreckfest, it's punishing, but there's still a certain weight and response to the way the cars drive that feels more in line with what you'd expect from a video game, if that makes sense. Right, it kind of reminds me of, what was his name, Dave from Classic Game Room, like the early seasons in the year 2000, when he meant like that the driving, for example, in Tokyo Extreme Racer 2, it's not good driving for a game, but it's a good game, video game driving model, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what this game is in a way like, because I would never want some other game to play like this, but for Ridge Racer it works quite well. What lap am I? Oh fuck, I was not paying attention. What lap am I on? Oh shit, I'm on the last lap, and I'm almost, oh no, I'm gonna have to give this another shot, aren't I? Well, I mean, if I fail this again, I'm just gonna go back to, I'm just gonna go to a different track just to give you guys something different to look at, and then I might, oh no, hold on, I might be able to catch up to him because I have about 20 seconds left of the track, and there he is, fuck yeah, okay. You gotta remember, this is novice difficulty, technically, even though I've beaten the game, you'd think they would step it up, but in reality, we've gone into this, like, this post-game thing, where now you're doing all the tracks mirrored, or reversed, I don't remember exactly, and the difficulty is reset. So technically speaking, I'm on novice difficulty, even though, as you just saw, I did fail once, so it wasn't quite novice. But either way, now we're just going to try and do it. Yeah, okay, third-person replay, that's pretty neat. I imagine replays are actually more impressive on the N64 than anything else because it has so much less space. Should I showcase one of the more unique things this game does? There's the car attack mode. Now, I'm not actually going to do any of them, but essentially in this mode, you're just doing a one-on-one race against any of these cars, and you unlock them, and I like how they're all named, like, you know, the Xevious, the Dig, the Galaga. That's real nice. No one, unless you're familiar with Namco, you're not really going to get it. How do they get such high-res images going on the N64, though? I mean, I actually haven't checked how big this game is, like the cart size. I should check the ROM size on this. because really N64 games, by the end of its lifespan, were able to get quite big, and it is kind of interesting how this game that was released 4 years after the N64 released, in a way, it doesn't feel that cutting edge, but in a good way, if that makes sense, because it doesn't feel like it's pushing too hard for it to become more dated. Because there are some games that really push the envelope that now feel like they're fucking Stone Age. Like, for example, games that barely run, like Perfect Dark. Like, you know, Rare, yeah, they were legends, but goddamn, that game runs at like 2 FPS. Even fucking Turok Free. And you know what's really interesting, actually, I've been thinking about this. Assuming that you were not interested in the slightest in PC gaming during the time, if as far as you were concerned, Turok Free was more original than it really was, because Turok Free is like this one, what was his name, Jake the Dragon or something? I might be confusing him with the TV show, but there's this one guy who has like a dragon avatar, and he used to do a lot of, he still does, reviews of first-person shooters, and he called the video like Turok Free, Half-Life at Home, and it's like, yeah, no, yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind when I played. I was like, oh, this is just Half-Life. To be fair, a lot of things are just Half-Life, because, geez, that motherfucker's Forza AI me, isn't he? That's in reference to the fact that in the popular Forza games, oftentimes the AI will basically break off into having most of the pack be piss easy, and then one guy will just be impossible to catch up to. Back when I used to watch AR-12 and Black Panther, that was basically like the meme. It was like, he's Forza AIing, you know? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so, but as far as, if you weren't interested in PC gaming at the time, as far as you were concerned, Turok Free was actually like the first game to do it. And then you got a PS2, because obviously you didn't buy a Dreamcast, despite it being a really good system actually, but you bought a PS2 in the year 2000, and 2001, and bada boom, they got freaking Half-Life 1 on it, and oh wow, this is very similar to Turok 2, but then, you know, you do a bit of digging and you're like, wait, hold on, no. This is, it's the other way around, my boy. Though it is interesting, I've always wondered if there are people like that who are just completely uninterested in what they're not, what they don't really have, if that makes sense. Like, say for example, I'm very much interested in all aspects of video games. I've never owned a game console other than like a PS1 for a brief period of time, very brief, I don't know where it is anymore, and it was long after its prime. I've only owned like a PSP and a 3DS. But despite that, I'm very much interested in every aspect of games, from the fucking Virtual Boy to the Switch to PS4 and 5 to whatever they could come up with, you know what I mean? To even the bizarre like Xbox Series, whatever they're doing, I have no idea. I think it's like it's Xbox Series X and then Series S, but they're basically the same, and they're kind of like the Xbox One as well, except the Xbox One had the Xbox One X, which was, oh my fucking god, you see what I mean? Why can't you guys just make the Xbox 720? Make it a sphere like in all those prediction videos back in the day. Remember those? Yeah, that's fun. Did you know that one of the guys who made a video of that kind, one of the most legendary ones, now works at Epic Games? Could you fucking believe that?
The stage is clear. Now let's go after some new cars.
Yeah, let's do it. We got some time. We got about 7 minutes. Let's, yeah, saving my progress. And you know what? With this game, for some reason, my dumbass brain, I actually genuinely save this. I don't just use save states. I dead ass save my progress to the ROM like you're supposed to, which is odd, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Let's go ahead and unlock this guy, the Micromouse Mappy, and yeah, we'll just stick with this car because it has the best speed stat. Although this one has slightly worse speed, but better acceleration, really good handling, which is very important. So, you know, let's try this guy out. Why not? Let's go in, and fucking stupid fast loading times. That's one thing. I never get used to that because it's a cartridge game, right? And it always made me wonder, how come newer games that are still on cartridges, stuff like games on the 3DS and the DS and the Switch, how come they have loading times? Not super long loading times, but they're still there. It makes me wonder because they're cartridge based. Now, I understand that the amount of data they're accessing is well above and beyond, you know, the amount of data on an N64 cart. I mean, like a Switch cart can hold up to, I actually have no idea, to be honest, but I've seen some pretty big Switch dumps on the internet. Don't ask where, I can't tell you, but, you know, XCI format, I believe it's called, because NSP is like the eShop format, I think. XCI is a direct dump. There's a lot of weird formats for Nintendo, like WUA and Load Line and stuff like that I'm just like, okay, which one works with CMU, bro? They all do, I think. That's the whole point. But anyway, and so I've seen some pretty big ones, like up to like, you know, 10 or so gigs, which is still, I mean, that's the one thing. Even though Nintendo can be kind of dickwads sometimes, I do appreciate the fact that they force their developers to make their games very small. I mean, like, where else are you going to find a copy of, insert whatever bigger game that's, you know, smaller. For example, Call of Duty Ghost on PC. Never played it, but it's like 40 something gigs, right? Which is pretty typical. In fact, it wasn't even that big for the time. But then on Wii U, it's like 15, which is still a lot for a Nintendo game, if that makes sense. But at the same time, it's like, oh wow, that's actually way less. That's like less than half, right? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, loading time. So just, yeah, I assume the reason why is just because there's only so much data that can be accessed at any one time. So the reason why like these games load instantly and they're on cartridges is because there's only so much data they have to load. Whereas like even a 3DS game, which is, it can range up to almost a gigabyte, you know, almost, not quite. And I beat them. Nice. We're going to do some more Car Attack after this. Yeah, those can be almost a gigabyte, and they still have, you know, a decent amount of loading, and it's not crazy long or anything. No Sonic 06. Although, funnily enough, I've probably mentioned this before, that like Sonic 06 on Xenia is just like, what loading times? But to be fair, if you're playing Sonic 06 on PC, you're probably just going to want to play the, what would you call it? The PC port by the legend, the Chaos X, I believe his name was. You know, that really great Project Sonic 06, right, on PC. Let's compare stats here. As you can see, this guy has the best top speed of any car I have, but his handling is a lot worse. But you know what? In this kind of game, that's kind of all that matters. So let's just bust him out and see how he fares against the next dude we're racing. And this is a very fun mode. I think that one-on-oneing here's a weird thing about racing games. It all depends on the quality of the opponents. You either have one really tough guy or a bunch of averagely difficult guys, right? And that was always like the dilemma of the time period, because you couldn't just have all these cars on screen at once. Come the 6th generation, it was like, okay, now we can have like a bunch of racers on screen at once, whatever. Unless you're Need for Speed for some reason, because like the last gen quote-unquote Need for Speeds would always cap the opponents at free. Like for example, Need for Speed Carbon on basically every other system had, I think, 7 opponents, which was quite the increase over what Most Wanted did on any system. But then on GameCube and PS2, and I think the Wii as well, it only has free opponents. And I'm like, really? Come on, guys. I mean, surely you could disable the reflections, turn down some of the effects on them, keep them on the fucking screen. Come on. I really don't understand, but to be fair, now that I've gotten a little older and I understand it, that's not, I mean, if they're competent opponents, then that doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, it's gonna be boring. Right? I mean, look at this. I've only got one opponent, and I'm having a good-ass time right now because I'm fucking chasing him. I'm trying my best to keep up with this guy, right? I'm trying not to lose, of course. So we only have, what, like, wait, hold on. I'm going to have only 30 seconds remaining to try and overtake him because that's how long each lap takes on average. So if I don't keep up with him, I'm going to do this shit again. I'm actually not going to do this exact same thing because I don't want to keep you guys bored. Rather, I'm just going to do the next Car Attack and try my luck on that one. But yet the environments are really nice. Although, funnily enough, I don't think that this game... It's weird how the N64, despite being technically better, always had this kind of ugly look, and I think it's because of its shading, you know, because flat colors can look really fucking nice. I mean, remember my Jumping Flash playthrough? Okay, I think we've lost this one. Oh, wait, yeah, it's new. Oh, there's free laps. Oh, shit. Okay, that means I have a chance, but the fact that I basically let go of the accelerator in defeat right there, because I thought that it would be the end, that means that... I don't know, maybe I have a chance. Check this out, I'm catching up to him. And my car is faster than my last one, so maybe this means that I'll actually be able to win, and I'll talk about what I'm doing in the game itself. But all you're doing is just keeping up with your opponent and just trying your best to overtake him. The collisions aren't that punishing. Interestingly enough, this game has a lot of customization when it comes to how you want to play it, so it has different drifting modes and different collision models too. You can switch between Ridge Racer Revolution and RR6 Progressive mode as well, which when I think progressive mode, I'm like, progressive scan. Well, no, what they mean is you're literally... I have no idea, to be honest. This is just the default... Okay, that didn't work out. But yeah, I'm using the, I guess, the default collision model, whereas the game has like this model that's more similar to the older games. Let's go and do this one instead, just to see what it's like. And yeah, we gotta go with this car. The trade-off in the handling is not worth it. I never thought I'd actually have to make a strategic decision when it comes to what car I pick in a Ridge Racer game of all things. Why did that become a meme, by the way? Why did the whole, like, Ridge Racer, like, okay, I get there was, like, this reveal. I think it was for the PSP or for the DS or something like that, where they were just they said the name of the game in a funny way, and I'm like, why? Why would that be? Out of all the things to meme on the internet, it's like, I get Fish AI for Call of Duty Ghosts, speaking of which. I totally get that, because it's like, huh, yeah, sure. Fucking Mario 64 had that decades prior, you know? And remember the whole fiasco where it's like, you need 6 gigs of RAM to run the game, despite the fact it doesn't even use that much. And it's crazy to think that people complain about that, because it's like, it's hard to find a computer nowadays with less than that. Well, I mean, a reasonably, you know, equipped computer, that is. Obviously, you can find, like, some secondhand stuff, like, really old and cheap, and, okay, yeah, sure. Funnily enough, they don't really need that much. I mean, Windows itself uses, well, that's the thing, that Windows uses, like, 3.5 gigs by default, even though I find that experimenting with different setups, if you have less RAM, it'll actually try and use less. For example, I have this one configuration where I've only got 4 gigs on it, for testing purposes, and it only uses about 2.7 when running idle, you know, when not doing anything. Obviously, you open up Chrome and it just fucking shits itself, but still, it's kind of fun how that happens, and it is a bit of a privilege that I feel very blessed to have, the fact that I have access to a wide range of computer performance. I'm not just like one of those lucky ones with a good computer, or one of those unlucky ones with a shitty computer. I'm one of those oddly specifically fortunate ones where I have access to like a decent one and a bunch of like kind of mid to low end ones, because it just happens to, you know, my family just has access to them in that way, and I've also, that's my personal interest as well, so, you know, it's fun to try certain things out and see how they handle different, for example, did you know that despite the fact that an Intel N3540, I think, struggles to run N64, it actually does okay with Dreamcast, as long as, well, in Redream that is, as long as you don't go into full screen. Full screen, for some reason, makes it absolutely shit itself, and I'm not sure if it's because of some sort of interpolation or scaling or something like that, but it dies, right? Even at, like, regardless of the resolution, it's just, it doesn't like it. I think we're actually going to beat this guy. If we can hold the lead for a little bit longer, it really is frustrating how the checkerboard pattern doesn't actually indicate where the lap ends. That's really, really annoying. You know what I'm impressed by? The fact that I've been able to keep this 20 or so minute episode going on a fucking racing game, consistently commentating over it. That I'm surprised, because this game's are the death of me when it comes to commentary, because I'm like, how the fuck do you commentate over this? Well, that's just how we beat him somehow. Just barely on our ass, as you can see with his low poly model, because he's in the rear view mirror. And that's actually going to do it for this episode. I'm glad that we can end it on a victory.
Another car for your garage!
My virtual garage. Just like Forza. So yeah, I think we're going to end it for this episode of Focus on B. This has been Focus on B, the single-part video series where I take a look at a game where I don't really feel like I would want to let's play it, but I definitely wanted to talk about it for quite a bit. And this has been Ridge Racer 64 4D. Guess what? The Nintendo 64. And I'll see you guys next time on Focus on B.